Good afternoon and welcome, everybody. Today on the Positive Psychology Hour, a series that we do in partnership with Whole Being Institute, I'm going to be interviewing Lisa Buksbaum, and she's going to be discussing soaring into strength. Lisa is the CEO and founder of Soaring Words, and she's going to discuss today the soaring into strength model, which is based on 7 empirically valid positive psychology components: shifting, optimism, altruism, resilience, imagery, narrative, and the mother of them all, gratitude. Through emotionally resonant stories and even some hands-on immersive exercises, we will learn how to experience greater physical, mental, and emotional well-being, even during these challenging times. As I mentioned, Lisa Buksbaum is the CEO and founder of Soaring Words, and that is, if you haven't heard of them, a global nonprofit organization that has inspired more than 500,000 children, families, adults, and healthcare professionals to take active roles in self-healing. She lives in New York City with her husband, Jacob, and her pride and joy are her 2 grown sons, Jonathan and Joshua, daughter-in-law, Evelyn, and grandbaby, Charlotte, who I learned this morning is 2. She is an active member at the Marlene Meyerson JCC Manhattan and gives her, gives her energy from coming to the center 6 days a week, and gets her energy from coming to the center 6 days a week when we are in person, and then of course virtually. She swims, she takes media classes with me, she takes Pilates with Lewis, and connecting with people in just so many meaningful ways. And she's completing her first book, Soaring into Strength. Lisa, we'll have to have you back when you have the book completed. And just so you know, she's an exemplar in the field of positive psychology. She has a BA from the University of Pennsylvania and an MBA from Columbia University. She holds a master's in applied positive psychology from the University of Pennsylvania in the program led by Dr. Martin Seligman, the founder of Positive Psychology. Welcome to the call, Lisa. I'm going to spotlight you, add you, and we can just check in. How are you doing?
Great. I'm so happy to be here. Last time I saw you in person, we were dancing Nia on the roof of the JCC. I'm so happy to see familiar faces from the J and all the people who are joining us from points all around the country and all around the world. I'm so delighted that you took time out of your busy, hectic lives to spend a little time with Caroline and me. So I'm going to share my screen.
Yeah, you know, it's so interesting. Before you share your screen, I really think it was kind of important that we were talking before we jumped into it about where people are right now. And, you know, as we reemerge from, some of us are still in lockdown. Eva from Toronto was telling us that they're still in lockdown. So, and they're just about to open up. So this idea of soaring into strength, I'm really excited to hear about this model. I think some of the tools and the skills we're going to learn today are really going to be helpful to help us manage this transition. And I just want to let everybody know we're going to have a special edition of Positive Psychology Hour next week with Maria Serwa, Megan McDonough, and Henry Benham to talk about our Enrique, I'm not sure his last name. I have to look that up. Anyway, he's been on the Positive Psychology. He runs Whole Being in Brazil, and we're all going to talk about this. So please tune in for that. But Lise, let's learn about your soaring into strength model. Please share your screen.
Yeah. Okay, so let's just dive in. I wanted to take a few moments to share my personal story because the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. And I also wanted to show you this slide because she's the cutest baby girl ever. I'm 10 years old and I'm sitting on the steps of my parents' house in Fair Lawn, New Jersey. I grew up 12 miles away from the Upper West Side. And suddenly my parents start shouting to the neighbors to watch me as they carry away my brother, Gary. And they speed away to the hospital. Childhood asthma, and I learned from a young age that when a child is ill, the whole family is affected. 27 years later, the phone rings. It's the phone call that everyone dreads. It's 4 o'clock in the morning. No, I scream into the darkness. Gary has died of an asthma-induced heart attack. He's 35 years old. I sit on the windowsill watching the black sky wash away to gray. And 2 hours later, I'm standing on the steps of my parents' house in Fair Lawn, New Jersey, about to tell them the terrible news. 5 weeks later, my father had a second bout of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma and a bone marrow transplant, and he was hospitalized for several weeks. Each day, my mother and I created messages of the day and jokes of the day. And each day, patients in wheelchairs, patients pushing their IV poles would come to Dad's room to be part of the fun. We brought a lot of joy and a sense of community to that oncology floor and transformed the energy among all of the patients and their families. And what I learned from this experience is that your attitude is an integral part of healing. 10 months after Gary's death, my oldest son, Jonathan, was catastrophically ill, diagnosed with rheumatic fever, which caused heart damage and neurological damage. When my son was ill, it came to my attention that each year, 22 million children in North America and many more, millions more children around the world suffer from chronic and serious illness. And I knew that more had to be done. During the height of my son's illness, I was walking along the beach, crying and singing and praying. That was my only time to break away from being a caregiver 24/7. And suddenly the name and feeling, soaring words came to me from above. I had a calling and a knowingness, and suddenly I knew why I was born. And everything I had done in my life had prepared me to launch an organization that would support millions of ill children and families. Now you can all stop holding your breath. Today, my son Jonathan is fully healed, he's fully recovered, and here he is with his beautiful wife, Evelyn, and my baby granddaughter, Charlotte, who just turned 2 on Sunday. And my father lived cancer-free for 19 years, even though all the doctors told me and my mother, it's impossible for him to live. He won't be able to live. Get his affairs in order. And my mother demanded that they go back for a 5th stem cell harvest, which actually saved his life when they infused his healthy stem cells into his body. So I wanted to share my personal story with you so that you could understand that this is my life's work, and this has been a real joy, and I continually learn and grow from meeting people like yourselves and sharing their stories and sharing my life experience and the really powerful, accessible tools of positive psychology with as many people as possible. Today, I wanted to take you through the highlights of the Soaring into Strength model in hopes that you can start to use these tools for any pressing professional or personal challenges that you may be encountering. And Caroline, as the founder of NIA New York and the Senior Director of Health and Wellness at the Marlene Meyerson JCC of Manhattan, you're a positive exemplar. And as a positive workout exemplar, like any successful workout regime, you appreciate that the more you use these tools, the more we use these positive psychology muscles, the stronger they become. So the things I'm going to be sharing with everyone are accessible to all of you. You don't need to get a degree to just start seeing the immediate impact on your physical, emotional, and mental well-being. So the model, as Caroline said, consists of shifting, optimism, altruism, resilience, imagery, narrative, and gratitude, and I'm going to take you through that today. And the great thing about what I'm going to be talking about and what I've spent the last 20 years diving into like a mad scientist is that this stuff works. The model is based on science, and it really works. So how many of you would like to live for an additional 12 years? Now that I have your attention, all of the Soaring into Strength interventions that I'm presenting today have been documented to significantly enhance well-being and longevity. No matter what your title is, no matter how mission critical your work is, or what zip code or ethnicity you are, if your child is ill, or someone you love is ill, or if you're going through medical challenges and setbacks, your world stops. It's a hard stop. And if your health is in jeopardy, then it's difficult to focus on anything else. So I want to jump into the Soaring into Strength model and see what resonates for you so that you can take an active role in your self-care and your vitality. So the first pillar of the Soaring into Strength model is called shifting. And that brings us to creating shifts in your attitude, your body, and your overall well-being. And as Caroline mentioned, we've helped more than 500,000 people over the last 20 years. And I've had the pleasure and honor of meeting thousands of them. But I thought it would be easy to focus on one particular person that's benefited from the Soaring into Strength model to show you the continuity. So Gabby spent 2 years battling cancer, and she missed going to school for 6th and 7th grade. And when she was battling cancer, she missed her routine, she missed her friends, and she missed her dog Shamu. And this is a really important shifting moment when the doctors got special clearance from the hospital to allow Gabby's beloved Shamu to pay a special surprise visit to her in her hospital day. Today she's in college, fully healed and fully whole. So speaking of dogs, when I say the name Pavlov, I'm sure that most of you envision the Pavlovian response, which is that famous experiment with dogs. Each time the dogs were fed, they heard the stimulus of a bell. And in time, they became conditioned to start salivating when they heard the bell, even though there was no food in sight or they couldn't smell any food. However, it was Pavlov's work outside of the lab that actually won him the Nobel Prize in 1904. Let me explain. Consider a beautiful green meadow. Imagine a herd of sheep who spend hours each day peacefully chomping on the grass. Life is good. Animals love to graze. That's what they do until they stop. When there's a change in their environment, they experience the startle reflex. They look up and they stop chewing. Pavlov coined this reaction as the "what is it" response, and he won the Nobel Prize in 1904 for this discovery. So when a person is hospitalized, each day the patient identity gets reinforced. In other words, I'm a patient, I'm ill, something's wrong with me. People come into their room to check their blood pressure and do various tests, and they check the plastic laminated bracelet on their arm to see what the code number is on the bracelet before each medical procedure. The person is wearing hospital clothing like the other inmates, and the person is isolated from his or her friends and family. Even the hospital bed resembles a jail cell with those big plastic arms on either side, the guardrails, to prevent adults or children from tumbling out of the hospital bed. But it's very disorienting, and therefore it's not surprising that people start habituating to this new identity of someone who is seriously ill. And in turn, they can lose their sense of self. And this is a process called reification. So if each one of you asked 100 people, what should I do to help an ill child in the hospital or an adult? I bet that 99 people would say, buy the kids a video game or a teddy bear or a toy, or send them to Disney World, or just tell the adult that things are going to cheer up, or buy them some magazines or send them some food. And all of these distractions are important and needed, but basically what I thought over the past 20 years of leading Soaring Words, 20 years ago, I decided let's do something counterintuitive to combat the isolation of illness. And the thing that makes this approach truly unique is that we're the only organization that's inviting patients to pay it forward, inviting the most vulnerable children and adults to become givers. Because we know, and the science shows us, that when we put the focus on someone else, it transforms the person who's going through the challenge or setback. And it gives him or her a sense of agency, a sense of purpose, and a feeling of well-being. And this is our startle response. This is what we do to activate the shifting, which is the first pillar in the Soaring into Strength model. And all of the positive psychology resource reinforces the health benefits of shifting, from negative, ruminating thoughts of despair and isolation, which we all have because of the negativity bias, because we're human beings. We're not little Pollyanna-like robots who are always smiling and happy. So by taking a moment to shift to help someone else, that is the best way to reach out and engender feelings of vitality, a sense of agency, and a sense of control. This is Greta. She's been with Soaring Words for 20 years. She started working with us when she was a senior in college. Now she's a mom of 2 little kids. And this was in the early days when we were creating all the curricula and activity and then running into inner city schools and hospitals throughout New York to test them out and codify them and polish them. So the next part of the Soaring into Strength model is optimism, which is finding the good even when times are difficult. So here you can see a picture of Gabby. Her hair has been cut shorter because shortly after this photo was taken, her hair fell out because of the chemotherapy and radiation treatments. Optimism is defined as having good feelings even when times are difficult. And every day, Gabby became more optimistic about regaining her health, which you're going to see why in a few moments. So this is a photo of Barbara Fredrickson. She's been a guest expert on the Positive Psychology Hour with Caroline. She's one of the founders of the field of positive psychology. Marty tapped her to join him when he was putting the science together. And she's famous for her broaden and build model, among many other theories of positive emotions. And the broaden and build theory of positive emotion shows that when we do something simple and kind, it can transform us. And each day, as I said, Gabby did something simple and kind. So Barb is a rock star and one of my positive psychology mentors. So I wanted to share the broaden and build model with you today. And I know that this video and these slides will be available to everyone after the workshop. So when we experience positive emotions, as you can clearly see in the first step in the bottom left of the slide, these emotions broaden us and enable us to experience more positive emotions. So emotions such as joy or love, contentment, interest, and happiness. So then we move up to the second step, which is the broaden step, where we have a sense of expansion in our thoughts, and we feel that there's more of a sense of possibility. Now, this could be something so small, like seeing the sun come up after several days of rain, or just hearing a bird chirping, or just watching a funny movie. It doesn't have to be, winning the lottery and something big and grandiose. These can be small micro interventions. On the third step, we build on the positive foundations of steps 1 and 2, and this is called the build step, where we are developing physical, mental, and social resources. And then, here's the cool thing. Our minds and bodies are always working in concert. So as we're experiencing more positive emotions and broadening, our body starts to open up. Our peripheral vision expands, our relaxation response kicks in as our body produces more endorphins, the happy hormone, which leads to the fourth step, which is transformation. So Caroline, when I come to your weekly NIA classes, sometimes I might feel stressed out or a little tired when I start, but after an hour of being in community and dancing and hearing the music and seeing your beautiful effervescent presence, I am always guaranteed to experience broadening and building. So speaking of positive emotions, now I want to share altruism, which is the next pillar in the Soaring into Strength model. So altruism is gaining a sense of control by sharing your creativity, your kindness, your strength, and hope with others. And again, the biggest altruistic thing that I've been doing these days is when I have my mask under my chin, or even when I have my mask like practically covering my eyes, I smile at people and I say hello. And it just makes me feel better. And I'm not expecting them to have this, to say hello back to me. But I just feel like it's a small act that reminds me that I'm a compassionate human being, and it might be the only person that says hello to someone that day. So all of us can think about small micro interventions that we can do that can activate the altruism response. So this is a photo of little Gabs. Gabby's all the way in the corner, and she's holding up a soaring message of artwork and a message, because every single week before she went into the infusion clinic, she would print out a different activity for all the children that had to spend 4 or 6 or 8 hours getting their infusions. And these are her nurses and doctors, and they were so happy that it gave the kiddies something to do to pass the time in a fun and meaningful way. So there's an African proverb, a parable that says, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. Which reminds me of one of the greatest positive psychologists of all time, Fred Rogers, affectionately known as Mr. Rogers. So he's enhanced the life of so many millions of children and families and adults. And when he was a young boy and there was a crisis around the world, he was very bereft of hope and very upset. And his mother told him something. She said, Fred, when there's a natural disaster or a big crisis, look for the helpers. There's always helpers. And in 2020, I got a call from the director of Health and Human Services in Jersey City. We had been working with this municipality for a year, training the people in Health and Human Services on the Soaring into Strength Positive Health Initiative, a series of 23 workshops. And I got the call saying that there was a terror attack, a hate crime. And I was invited to come in and work with all the different religious group leaders and communities to help them come together and coalesce in spite of this atrocity that happened in their community. And we encouraged people to look for the good in your neighbors, look for the good in your family, and look for the good that you can do to help others. And they got through this experience, as tragically we've seen many communities all around the world are getting through these awful tragedies together, but it's through this spirit of altruism and looking towards the good instead of getting stuck in the negative. So this next slide shows a picture that anyone who has a teenager or a child under the age of 30 is very familiar with. I call it Alone Together. And surely there's so many amazing things that technology and social media have done to make our lives so much better, including enabling us to be together right here, right now. But FOMO, the fear of missing out, has contributed to so much isolation and depression, especially among young people. You know, I was horrified and practically was weeping when some of our young interns told me that several of their classmates in colleges spent hours airbrushing and photoshopping their pictures on Instagram so that they would look good enough to post. You know, heck, when I fall out of bed to go to the JCC in the morning, I practically don't brush my hair because no one cares. But there's so much pressure to fit in and be part of something and not miss out. And Vivek Murthy, who was the Surgeon General under President Barack Obama, and he's back now as the current Surgeon General, he's our guest expert in a workshop called Why Loneliness Matters and What You Can Do to Feel Connected. And he says that solitude allows us to get comfortable with being with ourselves, which makes it easier to be with ourselves in interactions with others. And that authenticity helps to build powerful connections. So especially now, everyone, while we're in this complex time, just savor and appreciate being with yourself, because we're always with ourselves. And that can give you some strength and renewed vitality or insight and comfort. Speaking of insights, this is Adam Grant, best-selling author of Think Again, that's his current book, co-author with Sheryl Sandberg of Plan B, and the author of Give and Take. Adam researched thousands of professionals and found 3 distinctive profiles: givers, takers, and matchers. People who are giving, but they're always keeping score to make sure that they don't come off short in the exchange. Well, guess what? Your grandmother was right. We do well by doing good. And the takers, the people who are more selfish, they actually finish worse in their careers. But it's when we do things for others and we can be a giver that in the long run, it's better. So here's a picture of Corey and a young patient in the hospital. And this is, this girl's sister was going through 2 years of hospitalization, 16 hospitalizations from cancer. And her family put together a Soaring Words activity in their community, and 200 people came out at 8 in the morning on a Sunday to decorate quilts and pillows with inspirational messages and artwork. And then we went into the hospital to Columbia Presbyterian, where Taylor was being treated, and we gave out 200 Soaring quilts and pillows to patients and families. This is a group from Johnson & Johnson, and wherever it is around the world, whether it's in different countries, people feel a sense of connection, that there's meaning and purpose in their lives. And this is Jane Dutton, and she is the author of 15 scientific books and hundreds of positive psychology articles. She's one of my positive psychology BFFs and mentors. And she's famous for a theory called high quality connections, which are defined as interactions which are mutually beneficial. Trust, they engender trust and active engagement, which then affirms our self-worth and being present with another person. So high quality connections are actually the antidote to FOMO, or the antidote to being alone together. It's looking someone in the eye, it's giving them a smile, it's listening to someone before formulating what you're going to say to respond. And high quality connections give us a sense of agency and calm. So let's say you feel isolated or lonely and you wake up in the middle of the night. A good way to connect to high quality connections is have friends in different time zones, so you could call them or reach out to them, or you can think about an opportunity, maybe one of your favorite memories from childhood, or one of your favorite memories from your life, a special vacation or a special milestone that you celebrated. And Jane says you can just think about these experiences and you will start having the benefits of those high quality connections. She likens this experience in person or on Zoom in person, or recollecting them as taking a high quality vitamin, or remember, because it's the middle of the summer, when you take a bite of the most succulent, delicious piece of watermelon and you kind of savor it in your mouth for a few moments. It's the same kind of feeling, that taking a moment to experience a high quality connection will just elevate your mood and it will make you feel wonderful. I'm going to take a drink of water.
We had a question from Joy, which are, how effective are the hugging pillows?
Oh, excellent. Thank you. So when I started the organization, I wanted to come up with something that would be tangible because of that negativity bias I talked about. You know, like, it's great that your friends come and visit you in the hospital, or they send you a bouquet of flowers, or they call you. But then when you hang up the phone or when they leave, the patient is all alone again. And then those negative feelings come up, and the fear, and, you know, fear is false emergencies appearing real. So I wanted to create something tangible that people could literally hold on to. And there's nothing more comforting than a soft, fluffy quilt and pillow. So a dear friend of mine, Rebecca Litwin, designed the quilt and pillow on the back of an envelope and created the prototype. And we've given away hundreds of thousands of them over the years. So it's the kind of thing where when adult heart patients have cataract heart surgery, they're given a pillow to push and squeeze to strengthen those muscles. And we know that havening, which is when you touch your arms or touch your body, it has the same impact on your skin as if someone were giving you a hug. So the quilt and pillow were designed to be a tactile reminder for people that they're not alone. And the other thing is that strangers or family and friends can decorate the messages and customize them, but 80–90% of the time, the quilts and pillows are given to people who don't know who decorated them. Like, we went to New Orleans 4 times after Hurricane Katrina, and we helped 2,500 children and families who were hospitalized, but they also lost their home in the storm. So there's a little pillow pocket in the back, And that was a tool that nurses and doctors or family members could put little messages each day in the back pocket, so that that tough time when parents have to leave because maybe they have a job and they have to keep food on the table and don't want to lose their home because of the medical crisis, they could put little messages and make it like a game, like, just don't look at it for 5 minutes till I'm gone. So it's been a really wonderful healing tool that, over the years, many people have benefited from. And then, not to be macabre, but sometimes people don't survive their medical challenges, and the families take great comfort in having the quilts and pillows that were such an important part of the healing. Some will live, some will die, but we all can heal. And it's a really beautiful memento to remind them of good times. So I hope that answered your question.
Yes, and one other question was, do you have brands or links to recommend to those who want to find a Soaring Words pillow?
Yes, it's
or
super
quilt.
easy. You can go to soaringwords.org to our website, and there's a store in there, and you can put in an order, or you can email me at lisa@soaringwords.org, and we can ship things to you. People have done this at their 50th wedding anniversary party, or their weddings, or their kids' birthday parties, just to build that, pay it forward into the celebration.
Beautiful.
So this is one of my favorite pictures. This is Gabs, and you can see she's got all these ribbons in her hair. This was when she was well enough in between her chemo treatments. These young women were on the softball team in rural Pennsylvania in the neighboring town, the rival team. And they invited Gabby to become their team mascot because she was volunteering at an event for children with cancer when she was well enough in between her chemo cycle. Most kids would be like, I don't want to think about it. I want to pretend that it's never happening to me. But she and her family ran to help other families. So it just shows you that resiliency is also linked to attitude, and it's linked to high quality connections. And these are just some quick pictures from China and Brazil and Colombia and Bogota, to show you that it doesn't matter where people are in the world. There's still, people want to have that sense of fun and meaning and purpose and connection, which brings me to resilience, which is flourishing even in difficult times. And this is a beautiful photo of Gabby sharing some of that artwork, whether it's soaring haikus or puppets or messages and artwork, superheroes, to patients and families in hospitals. So I wanted to talk about the sandwich generation. So those of us who have aging parents know that it's a sacred honor and really a privilege to be able to be a source of comfort and joy and love for our parents, a healing presence. And also those of us who have younger children or children and going through all different stages of their lives. So the question is, we're the sandwich, like we're the tuna fish in the middle. But how do we stay resilient in our personal and professional lives when we are grappling with illness or challenges or setbacks in the lives of ourselves or our families? Well, Angela Duckworth was one of my professors at Penn. She's a friend and mentor, and she is the world expert on grit. And her TED Talk has been seen by millions of people, and she also is a guest expert in the Soaring into Resilience workshop. And she defines grit as when people feel a heightened sense of accomplishment when they persist to achieve difficult goals or persevere through difficult challenges. And, it's sort of, grit is kind of, resilience is kind of a cousin to faith. Faith is not what happens when you're on top of the world and everything's great and everything is just super wonderful. Faith is experienced and tested when things are challenging. And that's the same thing with resilience and grit. And Caroline, I'm reminded of the outstanding, wonderful programs that you've created and been leading for years at the JCC with people who are in the midst of living with cancer and those who are living with Parkinson's, and those wonderful programs. So you've met and inspired so many resilient people over the years, and kudos to you.
Thank you.
So the next pillar in the Soaring into Strength model is imagery. And I first met Gabby when her mother was working at Johnson & Johnson, and we were doing some global programs there. And during one of the breaks, the assistant to the global head of wellness said, I have to leave a little early today because Gabby has her infusions tomorrow. And I told her dad was going to come. And when she heard that, she started crying, at which point, Wendy, the global lead, and myself started, the tears started coming down our cheeks. And I blurted out, what are you doing after work? Could I do an imagery session with you and your daughter when you get home? I can help her. You can help her, and she can help herself to not be so traumatized each time she has to go for her infusions. And it wasn't ego talking. It was just that desire to help people take active roles in their self-healing. Because imagery, when you connect with your inner knowledge, you can heal, you can create a shift. So instead of me talking to you about it, I wanted to just take a moment and share an adorable video of the wonderful and resilient and just super sweet Gabby, who's going to explain to other children and adults how to do soaring imagery, how to do healing imagery. Because when you see a 10-year-old telling you how easy it is and how much fun it is, if you're 85 or if you're 22, you think, maybe I should try that. So let me roll the video. Oops, or not. Okay, hold on. I hate when this happens. Okay, you know what?
So wait a second. Go back to the video. Is it there?
Oh, there it is. Hold on. Thank you, Caroline. We're here today to share a Soaring Words healing visualization with you. And this is my friend Gabby.
Hi.
And Gabby has leukemia, and she is fighting her leukemia and getting better and stronger every day. And this is a special healing visualization that we created to help Gabs knock that leukemia, those white blood cells, out of her body. So Gabs, you do this every morning and night with your mom, right?
Yep.
Okay, so we're going to just pretend like we're here alone in this room together.
Okay.
And I'm going to ask you to close your eyes like you do every morning and every night. So Gabs, where are we? Where are you right now in your mind, the picture of you in your mind?
At the softball stadium, and every seat is filled.
Yeah, and is the crowd, who's playing tonight?
Anti-cancer and anti-cancer.
Which team are you on?
Anti-cancer.
So you're on Team Gabby?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, great. So why don't you go up to home plate? And I think the pitcher's ready to hit the first pitch.
Okay.
And the first pitch is coming out of the pitcher's hand. Here it goes. It's coming over to home plate. And what are you doing? Did you swing?
Yes, I did.
Oh, cool. What happened? Did you hit it? Did you connect?
Yes.
Okay, where are you? What are you doing right now?
I'm running to first.
All right. Did you pass first? Let us know when you pass first.
Passed it.
Okay, where are you going now?
Second.
All right. Are you there yet?
Passed.
All right. You are so fast. Now where are you going?
Home.
All right. Did you go to third already?
Yes.
All right. Let us know when you hit home plate.
I'm there.
All right. Home run. You are awesome. All right. What happened to the ball? Did it go into the stadium? Did someone catch it like in the first row?
No, I don't see it. It's gone.
You hit it out of the stadium again?
Yes.
You're amazing. You do that like every time.
I know.
You ready to be up at bat again? Because it's Team Gabby and you are the only person on this team. So ready to be up at bat again?
Yes, I am.
Okay, here comes the pitch. 85 miles an hour. Did you swing?
Yes, I did.
Oh, which base are you on? You are a wild
I'm on
woman.
second.
Oh my gosh. Okay, let us know when you get to third.
There.
All right, let us know when you hit home plate.
There.
All right, the crowd is on their feet. They are going wild, but where did the ball go?
I don't see it.
Did you hit it out of the park again?
Yes, I did.
Oh my gosh, what happens when you hit a ball out of the park? Does it come back?
Nope.
Never to be seen again.
Nope.
Okay, so let's share with the kids some of the things that we've talked about. What does this mean to you other than we're having fun and being a little silly? What does the ball represent for you in terms of you healing your leukemia?
It represents the cancer cells and then them leaving my body and never coming back.
Okay, and how do you know they're never coming back?
Because I won't let them, like I do not want them to come back, and my treatment is gonna work.
Great. And how are you personally taking a role in your healing?
By doing this every morning and night,
and by hitting the cells out of the park, right?
Yeah.
So you're really a really important part of your healing process. Is that right?
Yeah.
Great. And you told me sometimes you envision other people, like when you're going to be going in for a chemo treatment, you think about your doctors and the nurses and the child life people, your mom and your dad, and you let them have a turn up at bat so that they can help you get the balls out of the stadium as well, right?
Yes.
Cool. Great. Well, thank you for sharing your healing visualization with everyone today.
Thank you.
And kids, you are invited, and moms and dads, you are invited to share this healing visualization with kids that you love. It's really simple. It just takes a few moments every morning and every night, and we guarantee you that you'll have a lot of fun, and you'll feel that you're doing something that will give you the power to heal. Okay. So at the time when I started the organization, our mission was to inspire ill children and families. But in 2019, we broadened that to include adults and the most vulnerable people in society, people of color, people who are not getting medical equity and health care that is their right, that they deserve. So all of these things that I've shared with you today are they're applicable to people of all ages, including adults who might be immature but older, or adults who are mature and older. So I just wanted to reinforce that again. This is something for everybody. Which brings me to the next pillar in the model, which is narrative. And narrative is sharing the power of positive storytelling, whether that's reading stories, listening to stories, or writing stories and journaling about your own life and your own journey as you go through setbacks and challenges or the positive times. So in the old days, people used to gather around the campfire, the town square, and they lived in extended multi-generational homes and communities. But today, our families and our lives are more fragmented. This is Tobias. As a toddler, he was physically and mentally exceptional. At 3 years old, he could read fluently, ride a two-wheel bicycle at high speeds, and swim in the deep end of the pool, keeping up with his sisters Ariel and Ariana, splashing around in his water wings with Aviva and Ariel. In kindergarten, Tobias was the best reader that the teachers had ever seen. And in fact, they begged his mother to come into school, to the classroom each day for 1 hour to read with him, because they couldn't keep him engaged while they were working with all of the other children, the other 17 students. Suddenly, Tobias started having really bad headaches that lasted for days at a time. He loved watching movies and videos, especially Disney favorites like The Little Mermaid and Aladdin. And after watching these videos hundreds of times with his sisters, these colorful, whimsical films were embedded into his imagination and his memory, as is true with most children. But because he had an autophotographic memory, he knew every word of every video and every line. It was truly outstanding. Then his headaches started getting much, much worse. And the doctors confirmed the worst possible scenario, that Tobias had a brain tumor. He was admitted to the hospital immediately. And amidst all the hospital commotion whirling around them, his parents read to Tobias, who was gently nestled in their arms. And they tried to desperately cling to these normal rituals, as if somehow performing these rituals would make the hospital nightmare disappear. The doctors had no idea if Tobias would live through the next 2 weeks. But fortunately, the surgery and several months of rehabilitation, which was very grueling, were successful, and he was able to return to school. And when I first met Tobias, he was 24 years old, and he was attending community college. He was wearing these big headphones, so he looked like a radio talk show host. But he needed them because they were oversized hearing aids, and he had a big screen set up that enabled him to read like one letter at a time in an email that someone would send him. But I was impressed by his autophotographic memory, and he explained how positive stories and stories of these princes and kings and queens, those were his friends, because he didn't really fit in with his peer group anymore. And this is what he said. I wanted to read to you what he wrote to me in one of these correspondence that we had back and forth. I can't see the small print. I can't see anything out of my right eye or things far away. And I'm always reading, listening to books actually, several books at the same time. I'm hearing them. When I was in the hospital, my parents read to me even when I was unconscious. And Grandbub, that's what I call my grandmother, she's always reading a book to me. I see her every week. And if I didn't get a book, it would be a tragedy. I always carry a separate book for my dad to read to me when he comes home from work. And I always have a lot of audiobooks, and I listen to books on CD. And I have a book on my Braille note taker. I can't play sports. I guess you could say that all the characters in all the books and the Disney movies are my best friends. I know the different character traits between every prince and every fable, and all of the intricate details of each one of the Harry Potter books. People in these stories keep me company and are always there for me. And today Tobias is a college graduate, and it's his dream to become a screenwriter. And when he was younger, when we first met, he wrote 2 soaring stories that were shared with hundreds of patients in hospitals all around the world, and inviting them to create soaring stories and fables based on fables from Aesop and other prompts to inspire other children. So as Caroline mentioned, gratitude is like the mother lode of all the positive emotions. When we recognize and celebrate moments of appreciation, that's when our gratitude is activated. This is a photo of Gabby and her older sister Brittany at Take Your Child to Work Day at Johnson & Johnson, when hundreds of children around in offices all around the world, thousands of people were decorating quilts and pillows to donate to children in local hospitals. And I gave the microphone to Gabby and let her give the keynote talk. And there wasn't a dry eye in the house. People were crying happy tears. I picked this photo of a man on the beach because the ocean is my favorite place, and every presentation I make has to have a photo of my granddaughter Charlotte and the ocean. This is my second ocean photo in this presentation. But you know, we build these sandcastles, and then the next morning when we come out for the walk, they've been taken away by the tide. And that's kind of what accomplishments are like in the physical world, in the material world. You know, think of an accomplishment that you're most proud of. It could be that it took you weeks or months or even years to accomplish this, such as learning to play a musical instrument or raising children, helping an aging or loved one, relative, launching a business, caring for a friend, or perhaps it's a big project that you're working on now that's important to you. But then think of the day when the project is over. And if you're like most people, I think that you're a human doing instead of a human being, which means the notion of what have I done lately, or what have you done for me lately, it might come to mind. I'm just saying, sometime living in New York on the Upper West Side, you know, we're kind of a high achieving bunch, and you might think that you're a human doing. And that was what was one of the wonderful gifts of COVID for me, to spend more time in nature and start to see myself more and more as a human being. And there's a wonderful positive psychology intervention that helps you experience more gratitude before, during, and after major events in your life. And it's called savoring. So as you can see, this little girl is savoring every bite of that chocolate cake. And it's kind of mean to show you that picture during the positive psychology lunch hour, but savoring, we've all done it. You know, whether it's listening to that piece of music, whether it's lingering to watch that beautiful sunset during that liminal time. Savoring is what we do to prolong wonderful tastes, sensations, and positive feelings. So when you think of your favorite piece of music, or watching and rewatching the winning play from your favorite team, or watching your favorite show or movie, Or you can anticipate savoring, which is called anticipatory savoring, when you're planning a special vacation. So a wonderful gratitude intervention, it's actually one of the most powerful positive interventions of all time, is called a gratitude letter. And there's many ways of extending gratitude. So writing gratitude letters is the most effective positive intervention in the history of positive psychology. The way it works is you write the letter, and then if it's possible, you can call to meet the person in person or on Zoom, or you can mail the letter to them. But you get that added positive gratitude benefit when you can read the letter to them, which I've just done recently. Actually, last week, I just did 3 gratitude letters for people I hadn't seen or spoken to in 10 years. And they're like, what exactly is it? And I said, just, if I could meet you for 10 minutes on this day and time, I'll send you a Zoom. It's very powerful. The person who you write the gratitude letter does not have to be living today, or it doesn't have to be someone you've ever met. It could be, like for me, Florence Nightingale is one of my heroines. She is considered the founder of the modern field of nursing or medicine, because she, during the Crimean War, she went around and changed the bedding on all the soldiers' beds, which helped stop the spread of disease, which was killing people. So I once wrote a letter to her. You could write a letter to someone living or from history to tell them what it meant to you. And then you could just read it out loud, preferably when you're alone, so your friends and family don't look at you strangely. But I promise you, the concept of the experience of hearing you saying the words out loud gives you an extra level of meaning and resonance, positive emotional resonance, than just writing the letter. And lastly, this is something called forest bathing, because nature often inspires feelings of awe and transcendence and intense gratitude. Another powerful gratitude exercise is taking a gratitude walk for 30 minutes. It's best if you do this alone, because the goal of the walk is to notice all of the things in your neighborhood, or a new exotic place you're going to, or just a park. Or I often take gratitude walks when I go to the JCC 6 mornings a week. I try to walk a different way. Sometimes I go through the park. Those are my best gratitude walks. Sometimes I go down Amsterdam or Central Park West or Columbus. It still takes 18 or 21 minutes to get there, but the experience is much different when I'm not looking at my cell phone or having a conversation, when I'm just pausing to experience that gratitude walk. So now, in the few moments we have left, I'd love to thank Caroline, my teacher and mentor and friend, for inviting me to share the Soaring into Strength model with you today. I hope it's been helpful and inspiring, and I'm sending you strength and love, because the power to heal is inside of each one of us. We just have to breathe and open ourselves to being open to let it in. And I'm happy to answer any questions that anyone might have.
Wonderful. And can you share the next slide? Because I believe it has your contact information. And so we can get that on the recording. Absolutely. Oh my gosh, Lise, your work is just so beautiful. And I would just like to take a moment to thank you for everything that you're doing, not only one-on-one with folks, your own family. I know you're an inspiration to your own family and to the JCC community and to the positive psychology community, but also to all of these kids and families that you're touching with your words and with soaring words. It's quite extraordinary, right? Anybody else want to?
Psychology people say things, we just love each other so much.
It's true. It's
the
true.
First time my husband Jacob came to a positive psychology event, afterwards he said, "They're all like you." I said, "I know."
Oh, it's nice to find your tribe, right? So anyone want to, I know that there were several comments in the chat. Anybody want to unmute yourself and have any comments? Yes, Karen, go ahead.
Curious, does your organization train and or use volunteers?
Yes. So for many years, we We were working with Zumba instructors in 60 cities, and people like yourself and corporate employee volunteers and friends and family were going into the hospitals to doing the events live. And obviously that came to a complete standstill 2 years ago. But we had over 322 interns who are people that are older, retired, or just, in their 50s, 60s, 70s, and then a lot of graduate students, medical students, and college students. So for the past 2 years, we've had over 322 interns. In the past 2 years, we've had over 80 volunteers working virtually. And it's kind of interesting because I haven't met like 90% of them in person, although the Jewish mother in me invited the recent crop to my home for a meal once we were able to physically be with people. But there's lots of opportunities for people to help. I would not have been able to accomplish anything without the insight and help of amazing volunteers. So if you are interested, just drop me an email at lisa@soaringwords.org. I'd love to chat about it. But I do know one thing, we're not going back into the hospital anytime soon, ever, because the rules are very strict. They're not letting loved ones, as you know, and patients and siblings even come into the hospitals, but there's lots of ways to help.
Thank you.
Wow. That's a big change for you, Lisa.
Yeah, and I just pivoted. I have two speeds because I'm a New Yorker, fast and faster. Except when I feel what are you doing? Like I'm sitting on the couch. But I just knew in my heart of hearts that it wasn't going to go back to what it was, and I was really comfortable with that. The same way that when I saw that I was going to do this for the most vulnerable people and adults, I was like, okay, well, let's share the wealth and change the orientation to include more people. And I think that the more you experience the different positive psychology tools and the way of thinking and the way of orienting yourself, you do open up, you become more supple. And by being open to being open, the only thing constant in our lives is change. If we've learned anything the past 2 years, we've learned that we make plans and things happen. So for me, I'm very comfortable knowing that I do the best I can, and then I mess up, I apologize, keep going, and I'm good and clean, and then start each day, do the best we can. And it's a good way to go through life, because negativity, bias, nitty gritty voice inside of our heads, it's really powerful. And by practicing the self love and self-compassion, and practicing gratitude, and practicing kindness and altruism and optimism, you'll see that you'll start talking to yourself in your internal dialogue in a much more loving, generous way. And that generativity spills into how you feel physically, how you act in the world, and it has a positive cascading impact on your family members, even if they're not doing anything. It's contagious. We all know that germs are contagious, but positive emotions are also contagious.
Beautiful reminder. And I loved how you reminded me when we met recently about imagery, that it's a shared social language of the mind, and it doesn't take very long, maybe 60 seconds to do, and you don't need to go to an ashram to do it, as you like to say. And when you have pressing work or personal challenges, imagery will always immediately recalibrate your body chemistry, halting the fight or flight stress response and restoring us to equilibrium. And I think you always have said the best is that the answers are already inside of you.
Yeah, and that's actually a very Jewish concept, that we're all made in the divine image, and all of the great faith religions recognize that there is that divine spark, or that miraculous thing that came to be, which made us into these human beings, flawed and sloppy, but also magnificent and able to do incredible things. So it's that balancing. Rabbi Hillel said that in one pocket we should say, I am but dust and ashes, and in the other pocket we should say, the whole world was created on account of me. And for everyone here, that's our right, that's our birthright. And positive psychology is teaching us that this is available for everyone. And there's a huge movement now called third wave positive psychology that it used to be just managing your positive emotions. And then in the second wave, it was managing your positive emotions, but also recognizing and not trying to stuff your negative emotions. And now the third wave is sharing these findings with systems and people, including people who have been traditionally shut out and not been able to benefit from this. So it's really looking at, how can we help the greatest number of people to benefit from the latest findings in science, which are just going back to basics. It's the golden rule. Again, what's new is old. We're coming back to, do unto others as you have, do unto yourself. And I'm not trying to be like on a soapbox, but these are just truths.
It's all good, right? Anybody else need those wonderful reminders? As Tal Ben Shahar would say, when you appreciate the good appreciates. And Lisa, thank you for reminding us of how much good, kindness, and helping others can be for not only us, but for the world.
Thank you.
What a beautiful, beautiful session. I'm going to take off the spotlights. Feel free to unmute yourself and thank Lisa for just joining us today and sharing her heart. Kathy, we hope your arm is better. Sorry to hear about that you broke your arm there. Oh, boy, vey. But we send you healing and love, and it's just great to see everyone. Thank you. I feel so uplifted. Anybody else?
Yeah,
all these stories. Yeah.
With just what I needed.
Just what you needed. Yeah.
Work on Zoom. Thank
you. No, yeah. Thank you, everybody. And a great session. Lots of thank yous to you, Lisa. And remember, on Thursday, we have Dr. Sherry Kelly, because we are going to be interviewing on the hero's journey. This I'm so excited about. Our speaker is going to be talking about that, and Sherry Kelly is going to interview about that. And next week we have a special session of the Positive Psychology Hour on, as we are talking about reemergence and how we're going to be doing that as we kind of go in and out of COVID restrictions and opening up to the rest of the world. Let's use some positive psychology to help us manage this time. We'll see you then. We'll see you on Thursday. Take care of yourself. Please be well.
Thanks, Lisa.
Know that you're loved and cared about. Thanks, Lisa.
Thank you.
Take care, everyone.
Thank you so much.